Lovely. All right, guys, Crypto with Dinny, and it's Dinny here, and I have a very special guest today, someone who I don't really know much about, but I'm interested to find out a little bit more. So I'll introduce the anonymous Geekboy from both Instagram and Twitter. Geekboy, how are you, man?
How you doing, Dinny? Nice to have me on. Cheers.
Yeah, fair play, man. Thanks. So we've just sort of met through social media, and I've followed, you in the Bitcoin space and what you're up to, and I was intrigued. And another Irish guy. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I suppose you are going to be anonymous, but whatever you're happy enough to chat about.
Yeah, well, my background, I'm from Cork originally. Background in graphic design, studied graphic design at university. Worked a few years in a regional newspaper in Ireland. Of course, 2008 happened then, and yeah, we all lost our jobs and all the rest, and got a handy severance packet and decided to hit the road. So yeah, I traveled around South America, spent a few months in Switzerland, messed around with permaculture on a farm, came back for a while, worked with Apple, and then, yeah, decided to hit the road again and cycled across Europe. And the old Irish tale of, Irish guy on the continent meets exotic foreign woman. And I've been living in Austria for the last 7 years. Uh, yeah, always been interested in books, politics, news, technology, I guess, and of course, art and graphic design. So yeah, at this stage, I kind of found myself doing, art and design in the shape of Bitcoin and economics. So that's where I find myself right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Your work is class. It's always. I think I even messaged you going like, "Where do you get your ideas?" Very creative.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like on Twitter, I kind of not arrogantly, I suppose, but as I worked in graphic design in the newspaper industry for a few years, and I guess I was I'm kind of trapped between the world of artwork and graphic design. If someone asked me to do a logo and all that stuff, I can't stand it. I hate it.
Yeah.
But I mean, before I kind of started doing the work for Max and Stacy, I did a lot of fine art, painting, and large canvases and stuff like this. But yeah, the situation over the last 2 years, I kind of being traveling and on the go all the time, I was happy to just move all that onto the laptop and yeah, just take up that. And yeah, I've got a quite good reaction, and I'm published in one of Max's books and everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And I'm where do I get my ideas? I don't know, popular culture, anything that's happening. And you know how it is. You wake up every morning and there's a new story in Bitcoin. So
Yeah.
on the meme artists are, you know, some of the sharpest tools in the box. These guys are amazing, but I don't know. I wouldn't classify myself as a meme artist. I'm kind of trapped in this like zone of artwork and graphic design. But yeah, I try to do my own thing, and I don't know, whoever I'm listening to at the time, or whatever tickles my fancy, or whatever makes me laugh. I guess that's it's quite key and unique to the Bitcoin experience, the sense of humor and camaraderie we have online.
Yeah.
Um,
And you mentioned Max Keiser, of course, and Stacey
yeah,
Herbert. So you're
yeah,
working with
yeah.
some fairly high profile Bitcoiners. That must be awesome. What's that like?
Quite good. I mean, it's quite relaxed and chilled. I mean, I've known Max and Stacey for about 15 years.
Wow.
When they were living in a tiny apartment in Paris, they were actually they had a little podcast show called The Truth About Markets. I first kind of discovered them. I was at a rally or something, maybe an anti-war thing on Patrick Street in Cork years ago, and someone showed me a video of Max. He was on French television calling Goldman Sachs scum, and I was like, who's this guy?
Who
So
is this guy? Yeah.
yeah, I jumped on, did a quick Google search, and found out they had a podcast every Saturday night, and I started to listen. And really, they had nobody. They had no TV shows, nothing like that. They were really on their own, and I started hanging out on the message boards there. There was me and one other Irish guy, uh, who I did get back in contact with there maybe about 2 years ago. Um, yeah, we were just, I don't know. I got to know. I like their sense of humor. I like the way they delivered the message, and what I really liked, considering what happened in Ireland in 2008, they were the only people talking about the criminality that was going on in the banking sector. And they raised a lot of, let's say, interesting topics. And I've stayed with them for the last 15 years, and they're very much people that I trust, and I trust their opinion, and I trust the people that they trust. So, I'm happy to be, working with them behind the scenes. Yeah, it's great.
Deadly. And is that like your full-time job, or have you other stuff on the
Oh,
side?
I mean, it's not really a job for me.
Yeah.
I volunteer my work for them.
Awesome.
They've been really good to me over the years. We, I was involved in the gold thing as well, gold and silver thing a few years ago. Um, no, I'm involved in something quite different as my day job, but I try to do something creative every day, just bang
Yeah.
it out, and who knows if it keeps going the way it is, maybe it's something I can do full time. But my life outside Geekboy is quite different.
Right. That's awesome. Um, let's chat a little bit about Bitcoin, because I've been looking forward to chatting to you and getting your perspective of someone who's been around the space and has a good understanding. So sort of why Bitcoin? Why do you like Bitcoin?
Okay, I first heard about Bitcoin in 2011 when John Matonis appeared on episode 4 of Keiser Report. So that's 11, yeah, 2011. That's right, yeah. I didn't get it at all, Dinny, to be honest with you. It went straight over my head. Looking back now, if you wanted to get Bitcoin, you had to go to Mt. Gox. Was the only place to get it. There was no such thing as a hardware wallet. There was no apps. You probably had to go and get a broker on the phone or something and call Japan. And so it went completely over my head, both. Looking back is a huge regret in my life. But a few years, I went, continued on. I was in the gold and silver game for a few years. And then what happened, 2008, and a few years later, I really kind of turned my back on news, politics, and just hit the road. I was cycling around Europe and down in South America, just hanging out or whatever. But a few years ago, yeah, just chatting to a few friends, and I kind of reconnected with Max and Stacy. And what is this Bitcoin thing all? I was when I hit that first all-time high, 20,000, and I was like, oh my god, I've missed the boat here. This
Yeah.
is beyond me. Of course, my understanding was very lackluster at that stage, and I was like, how am I going to get a Bitcoin? It's 20,000. It's like really basic stuff. But when it finally, inverted commas, crashed back down to 3, I was like, okay, my learning a little bit started at that stage, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was. So I got myself some, and yeah, the journey began there. So luckily, when I got in, it was at a reasonable price considering what it is today or where it was today.
Yeah.
So yeah, from there, yeah, just holding on. The technology was there. I couldn't believe the technology has moved on. When I came in, you had hardware wallets, you had apps on your phone. It was on YouTube. Other people were discussing it. You had artwork, meme artists, podcasters, guys like yourself. There was just this whole world opened up, and it became quite exciting and thrilling, actually. So, yeah, now I find myself right in the middle of it. So, yeah, things have changed a lot.
I was asking you there just before we went live if you were Bitcoin only, because I sort of had a feeling you probably were, and I even like took down my Ethereum teddy there that's only behind.
Were you fear of upsetting me?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're like Max. Like Max wouldn't come on if I had that fucking thing there.
Well, look, didn't he? Did it like? I mean, in fairness to Max, like when the first kind of cryptocurrencies and that, he explored them the same as everyone else. There was Max Coin, there was Starcoin. He had guys on that were programming, and it was just completely new. It's not like it was today. It was a completely new thing. And he probably admitted himself, he went through all that stuff, and he came to the realization that Bitcoin it's where it's at. They're like, if it depends, like if you're interested in just making some money, that's fine, go and gamble money, that's fine. But there, like for us, Bitcoin is another level. Like we're talking about changing the world, you know what I mean? And that's something very important to us, or particularly people like Max. Like he's been in the game for, since he's 20 years old, back in, the late 70s, early 80s. He's seen all the criminality, all the stuff behind the scenes that goes on, he's quite a character, man, and he doesn't mince his words, and he has conviction, so as I said, like I'm not that smart of a guy, my tactic is to find the smartest people, listen to what they say, and carry it out in my own way, or however I can, but yeah, Bitcoin for me is it, man. There is a protest part of me as well, considering what happened, for us as Irish guys, what happened in our country in 2008. There is that kind of anger that I still carry, for what happened. It is fuck you money, to the banks.
Yeah.
My feeling, and I still carry that, man. It's the reaction to what happened in 2008, and right now, banks can't touch my Bitcoin. I am my own bank, It's uncensorable, it's unconfiscatable, it's decentralized around the world. It's the largest supercomputer in the world. It connects people across all borders, all religions. It's not debased, I'm sure you're well familiar with the printing of money that's going on right now. There's only 21 million, as I've seen on your channel. You've repeatedly told people it has integrity, and it's got to a level where it opens up a whole new world of human philosophy almost, where we think about ourselves and we think about what we're capable of and the world is capable of. It came along at a time when there was no hope, and I think that you can see that even in the Genesis block. There was another bailout for the banks, and where's the money going? And why are we being taxed? I think the whole question of what money is came into question. What is money? And I find that exciting, thrilling. It makes me want to understand the world around me. We have conversations like this. I don't see anybody talking about, XRP's place in this world, or how Dashcoin can change. Bitcoin has created a philosophy, and it's exciting, man. And it's amazing to hear different people's opinions on it, because Max sometimes says, you don't change Bitcoin changes you. And for me personally, I have a whole new hope for the world. I knowing that I have that little Bitcoin in my hardware wallet, or my multi-sig or whatever, that will increase in value over time, and I will have a better life in the future. And it's very changes your attitude towards the world, man.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that 100%. It's almost like without Bitcoin, I'd have felt fucked, for want of a better word. Not fucked, but much more vulnerable. Because if 2020 taught us anything, I worked a decade to build a business, and that was destroyed in a couple of months by a situation that was beyond my control. And it became illegal for me to attempt to allow my business to survive, or to open my business. And it just sort of showed me, geez, you busted your ass for a decade here, and that got wiped out literally over a couple of weeks, all that work. How do we move forward from this? How can I protect my future? I have my money in the bank. I've been earning for years and adding to that, but it's just been debased, and inflation is going crazy, and the price of assets is something I can never catch up with. There's so many different layers to Bitcoin, I think, and that's why I think it just takes years of chatting to people about it and developing your understanding. In some ways, I think of it as a battery, as a way to store energy, because the normal battery that we use destroys energy, and that's not good for a world that we're quote unquote destroying. We want to have more conservation of our energy, or use our energy more efficiently. But if the unit that we store the energy in, being a fiat currency, constantly leaks the energy, it just means we're constantly having to consume more to try and get more, and wealth is just being destroyed. I sort of just think practically, and where I went down this whole rabbit hole was when I was younger. My dad told me he paid 20,000 for his house, And at the time, houses were 100 grand, and I was just like, why? And I just always kept pondering that question of
My,
why,
my,
why, why is the house more expensive? Because surely the house is easier to build now and faster to build, and with better technology. It should be 10 grand to build a house now, but why is it always always going up? And then over a period of years, I started to learn, well, it's not. It's that the battery that we're storing the energy in, the euro or the currency, is constantly losing its purchasing power or losing its energy. And Bitcoin fixes it, I suppose, is what a lot of Bitcoiners say, in that you can have this fixed supply. One of the characteristics of Bitcoin, as they, when I learned those 21 million, that was when I got interested. I was like, okay, right, so this thing is scarce. And then obviously it's got its immutability, permissionless, decentralized, but the fixed supply and the ability to have a money that can't be debased, and that in Bitcoin nominated terms, you can store that value forever. Basically, we don't have that, or we've never had an option for that in humanity before. We had gold, which is pretty close to it, but that doesn't work in the modern world. So yeah, it's crazy. Like,
I mean, yeah, talking about stored energy, I mean, listening to one of Saylor's soliloquies, will melt your brain. I mean, yeah, all fiat currencies are collapsing. There will be a monetary negotiation. We can't keep going the way we are. It's. I mean, on a simple level, just about. I probably come from a traditional background, the same as yourself, with Irish parents. You put your money in the bank, you save it, get a mortgage for a house, blah blah blah. That's just, it's funny there when you said your parents, what they spend on their house. My parents, I'm guessing, are maybe a little bit older than yours. Maybe they spent 7,500 on their house.
wow, yeah, Jesus. So
You
it's like
know, and
100% increase.
I don't own a house personally, but house prices in Ireland, I'm guessing you're talking north of 200,000 at least. I know Dublin is on another level again, maybe 300,000.
Oh, way more, man.
That's unreachable for my generation. Absolutely, not a chance in hell.
You want 500,000 in Dublin if you want a house with a little garden.
Yeah.
So the maths don't add up. Two school teachers, they'd have to get a 100-year mortgage to be able for that to physically work.
Yeah, I mean, Max used to say, when people went on strike and they were, trying to get a pay rise or something like that, and you should, what you're asking for, you should tie it to inflation. So inflation right now is probably running at about 15%. I mean, I don't think anybody believes the statistics that are coming out from, the central authorities. I mean, if you went down and I guess you asked, the teachers or the nurses in Ireland, we want a 15% increase, they'll be laughed out the door. So
Yeah.
you're constantly chasing your own tail, and it makes life very hard.
It's and again, just back to just the way I would always look at the world. I was like, well, my granddad used to work, and they were quite a wealthy family, and then both my parents worked their ass off, and they're not as wealthy, and now, both partners work, and the kids work when they get to 18. That it just seems to be. It's like you can only squeeze so much. Eventually, it's going to be like, right, well, we don't have, and that is one of the reasons why. I think that we've had this emergence of Bitcoin, because we have a generation or generations of people that are just going like, how this system, it doesn't work for us. Like, it worked for yous, and yous are all grand, yous are older. But look at us. We don't have the opportunities, we don't have the wages and all the assets that we want to buy, like property, land, whatever. It's just unaffordable. So it's like, well, what chance have I got? I've got to go out and take more risk. Where do I see it? Well, there's alternative systems being built. Maybe I'm going to have to get exposure to that, which is like the emergence of Bitcoin. And that's partly, I think, due to the success, because the way I see it is, like, not everyone can understand it. My parents own Bitcoin, but they don't understand it. The only reason they own it is because I took some of their money and I said, you need to own some Bitcoin to protect your retirement, because they didn't get it. I tried to explain it to them. They just can't get it. My dad doesn't. He calls it the McGoogles. He never goes online, and he's very a man of the physical world, and we could all learn a thing or two about it. But he owns Bitcoin, and I said, give me 1%, and I bought 1% of their life savings in Bitcoin. I was like, if you lose it all, if it goes to zero, it's not going to affect you in any way. But happily, that 1% has been the highest performing of the 99% in their retirement. And it helps me go, well, if their cash goes to shit, at least I know they've got some Satoshis there, stacked away. But that doesn't matter the way I see it, because the generations that come behind understand digital value instinctively. So as older people who have the wealth die and the younger people inherit their wealth and they already trust digital value, well, the wealth is just going to be transferred there anyway. As you say, I think we're just understanding this before the rest of the world understands it. I seen the president in El Salvador tweeted like there's 50 millionaires in the world, so they can't even all have a full Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first scarce digital asset. There's, as you said, there's only 21 million, and Bukele's right, man. And it's amazing. He's 40 years old, right? He's clearly, part of our generation where we see the power of technology,
Yeah.
I mean, God knows I remember trying to teach my mother how to write a text message with the old Nokia phones. Now she has a smartphone and, she's FaceTiming me and, she's a woman in her mid-70s. So, I mean, Jeff Booth is a great guy on this. And his book, The Price of Tomorrow, is such an epic read. The existing monetary system is crashing into the technology that's innately deflationary.
Yeah.
So the whole system is being torn apart right now. And yeah, I mean, is technology going to win? I think so. But that's why we see the printing of the money, because we have to keep the game going. You have to keep the roulette wheel going. So there will, as I said, there will be a monetary renegotiation, but how's it going to look? I mean, India just announced this morning that there will be a central bank digital currency coming either next year or the year after. There will be a 30% tax on what they say called digital assets. I mean, does that include Bitcoin, the crypto, or the altcoins? It's unclear yet. But regulation is coming, and people are starting to sit down to the table and realizing the world is changing rapidly. China will have the digital yuan at the Winter Olympics. Foreigners can use it on their phone as well. So, it's also apparent to me that there seems to be a power shift geopolitically towards the east. Or what Max and Stacey called the Thucydides trap, the transfer of empires. It seems to be, America seems to be very much in decline, and Asia seems to be on the rise. And as always, Europe's it's somewhere in the middle, trying to negotiate its way through. But yeah, I mean, our generation are caught in the middle of this, and which way is it going to go? I mean, my bet is on Bitcoin. As you said, our money is debasing. The central planners, the more they debase our money, they're forcing us to speculate. They're forcing us to run into the arms of Bitcoin because we simply don't have a choice. Our savings, our livelihood is all just being whittled away. Our energy is, as Sailor likes to call it, our energy is being whittled away. So the more they try to cover over the cracks of the problems, the more we run straight into the arms of Bitcoin. So it's inevitable, really. I mean, the game theory and the FOMO and all the rest is quite fascinating to see. But, we talk about it for a long time, but to actually see it happening is quite amazing, I guess after El Salvador declared it legal tender, there's talks of, Brazil, Argentina, even, Strike just got introduced in Argentina. So, I mean, I think looking back in 20 years, I mean, it seems like every morning, as I say, there's a new event and there's a new something small or, big happens every morning, every week. But I think looking back in 20 years, we'll say, oh my God, didn't it happen so fast?
Yeah. How did we not see it coming?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, for me, it's Bitcoin, because the states, even, you see a movement now, and even in individual states in the US, like Arizona, Florida, Texas, they're all talking about declaring it legal tender individually. As the states' rights is a big thing in the US, obviously. because the federal government seems to dismiss it. But yeah, each domino slowly is falling, and yeah, for me, it's inevitable. As crazy as that sounds, but crazy things have happened already, you know. So it's inevitable for me.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I don't still know where I see where we go. Like, I don't know. Part of me thinks, I know Simon Dixon's talked about that perhaps there's two worlds. There's one world of where there's more control and CBDCs, but then there's other parts of our world where there's more freedom and Bitcoin. Will that be the case that people get to choose where they want to be? Do you want to be in a a China-like regime, or do you want to be in a freedom-like regime in El Salvador? Does the world end up going in different directions? And then it'll just be a case of, well, which system is the best, like which is the most prosperous for the people, and then if people can exit one, but I suppose if you're in the control one, then it's probably difficult to exit that system if you end up there.
I know Jeff, sorry, Dinny. I know Jeff Booth talks about this. Like, if we continue trying to keep the system as it is, it's centralizing power towards the top. So you can say the
well, we can see that today. Like, it's just the wealth divide.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is getting bigger like that. Wealthy people are getting wealthier because they own assets, and middle class and who don't own assets and who are suffering from these inflation are just becoming poorer because their purchasing power is just being reduced, so they can't buy as much stuff. So in real terms, I can see it happening. I can look out my door and I can see it happening.
I wanted to ask you, actually, considering I'm living abroad. I mean, I've been home a few times, obviously, over the years, but I know you wanted to ask me, but as you're in Ireland, I wanted to ask you, what is the situation of Bitcoin in Ireland? Or is it a lonely place? Are things happening? I don't know.
In the Bitcoin scene?
Yeah.
It's isolated compared to, like, I was over in UK last year and the scene is thriving. So my goal with Crypto With Dinny was to try and get out there and create a community and just get people talking about it and do my education. Like you say, like, it's not really work because I enjoy talking about Bitcoin. And, I think I shared a thing from Mark Moss. I can't remember the quote, but it's something like, we reckon normal people come to Bitcoin just to make an easy buck and then end up changing their life or something like. But,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm passionate about, and I think it can benefit me, but it also benefits everyone. And, so that's why I enjoy working on it. So to answer the question though, there isn't a great scene, and I'm just trying to join the dots if I can find little pockets. Because I remember I was over in Token 2049, and there is community, like there's Irish guys and they're working in the space and they're building stuff, but they're very much isolated. 3 lads here, 2 lads there. So I was going to try and just build a community, and that's the goal of Crypto With Dinny, with the channel, with the Facebook, with the podcasts, and to try and actually get some in-person stuff going and just talking and educating, because there's a lot of education with Bitcoin. I think we all come into crypto, we get distracted by everything that's going on, we end up losing our money, we leave with a sour taste in our mouth, or we continue to get educated and we go, okay, I'm back to Bitcoin now, this is where it's at. And if I'm going to invest into crypto, I need to be a sophisticated investor, because most people lose their money in these markets. They're too manipulated, too volatile, and the easiest or safest way, I suppose, which is what I teach, is just dollar cost average into Bitcoin, and you don't have to worry about any of that. The market crashes become gifts, as opposed to, bad for you. You learn to embrace it, because you just see you're looking forward 10 years and going, like, come on. Bitcoin isn't that hard to understand, I don't think. Like, I can understand Bitcoin. Like, I can understand keeping the wealth that I store in Bitcoin. I understand the future of that more clearly than I understand the future of my euros in the bank, because there's so much uncertainty and that can change. Whereas I know the rules of Bitcoin are immutable. They just stay the same. So I agree. It's predictable for me.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, we were told as kids, put your money in the bank. That's predictable. That's safe. But as we discovered as we got older, that's not true at all.
No. Sorry to cut into you there. I just
Go
done I put a post up there earlier, and it was just like investing is risky. Then I broke it down because again, that's just bred into us as kids. Investing is risky, or you have to be really smart to invest, or you have to, only rich people invest. Was completely untrue. Investing isn't risky. Not investing is risky. Anyone who invested into the S&P index for 20 years made money. There's not a human on the planet who lost money by investing into an index for 2 decades. So investing isn't risky if we don't invest and we save in a currency that's constantly purchasing less stuff. Like, that's the most risky thing you can do. I use an analogy: you're trying to fill a bucket full of water. Financial freedom is when it's full to the top. There's a big hole in the bottom, and we spend 65, 67 years of our life trying to fill that bucket and wonder why the game is so difficult. Investing is just put a fucking plug in it and you don't have to work as hard, because your money will work for you. But again, like you say, we got all these things that are just conditioned into us and they just roll off the tongue. But these beliefs, we carry them with us for our whole life. Like,
I just wanted to touch there. It must have been about 2011, 2012. I went to David McWilliams' festival, the Kilkenomics Festival. I went to see Max and Stacey, and Max was banging on about this thing called Bitcoin. He was telling David McWilliams, and it was at $1 at the time. And I was sitting in the audience. I didn't get it either, and David McWilliams certainly didn't get it either. But we're actually talking about Irish guys there. I since I've been putting out the artwork and things like this, I've been approached by, as you said, like individuals. There's not like companies. I understand. There's individual guys. There's a guy in West Cork, I think, or maybe he's East Cork. I'm not sure. He's actually mining, and he's got a video, and we got a little kind of a Telegram channel on there. So maybe I don't know if you're aware, but like I might send it on to you later or whatever.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
There's little pockets of guys, and I know there's a company down in Cork as well, BitCove.
Yeah, I know the lads. So I'm going to get the lads on. Peter and James. I've been chatting with them. I've sent some people their way, and they're working in the space a long time, and I think let's grow that. Let's leverage that.
But as you said, like, are we behind in Ireland? Absolutely we are. I mean, like, just watching the Keiser report there this morning, they're talking about, Biden is supposed to be bringing some new legislation in regards to Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, whatever like that. And the quote was, "It's becoming a national security issue."
Yeah.
I mean, for us out there on the little island of Ireland off the coast of Europe, whatever, and especially with Britain beside us there, it's becoming a national security issue for us. There's little old Ireland, We're at the tail end of Europe there. We're going to need something, I'm quite shocked, actually, with all the tech companies that are in Dublin, that it hasn't been pushed as much in Ireland. I thought there would be a scene, that with all these tech engineers.
You mentioned David McWilliams, and he did do a podcast on it only about maybe a month ago. And I listened to it, and I was pretty disappointed, because he's obviously a hyper intelligent guy. But to me, it seemed that he didn't do the work on it, and he didn't really have a deep understanding of it. And he was sort of just drawing conclusions of, examples unrelated to Bitcoin that he could just project onto and go, oh, well, it's this way because of this. And I just felt it was a disservice to the Irish people, because his opinion would have huge weight. And if
exactly,
Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme,
in fairness now,
or a tulip bubble, well, that's pretty much preventing most of Ireland from getting exposure to it, because people will listen to them. So I just thought it was, and I sent him an email. I sent him an email only yesterday. Sent him an email on Sunday. Whether they will see it or respond, I don't know, but I can only try. He had Michael Saylor on, so I suppose he had one of the biggest Bitcoin bulls in the world today on the podcast. So I'm looking forward to that, and maybe someone like Saylor will give him some little carrots or spark his interest with some points to explore, and develop his understanding. But again, that was my motivation to start doing podcasts and stuff and get myself out there more, because I'm like, well, I mightn't know everything. I put my hand up and know I know very little, but I'm willing to learn. But I know enough to know it'd be a mistake to ignore this and even if I know nothing and I just look at some really smart people, because like yourself, I think you've mentioned, I like to just Tony Robbins, model success. If someone's more successful than you, find out what they're doing and do that. Well, some of the smartest money managers over in the States, all these hedge fund geniuses, they all own Bitcoin. Like, so if it's good enough for these geniuses, surely me personally, I'm a little hedge fund effectively. You know, my family's wealth. And if it's good enough for their hedge fund to have exposure to it, and if they're saying that it de-risks a portfolio by adding Bitcoin to it, well, they're smarter than me. So I should probably pay attention to that. So again, I just thought, because of that whole narrative going on, it was possibly a disservice that David McWilliams was, well, you know, you're disregarding Ray Dalio, Paul Tudor Jones. These are legendary investors. You're literally saying they're wrong, you know, and maybe that's unfair because anyone like that, their opinion, it has to have weight to it because they've got such a huge track record and previous success.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that I know that has looked at Bitcoin has been, you know, you have to do the work. I mean, it took me 4 years to get it. You know, I was looking at it, didn't get it at all. Looked at it again, didn't get it. And you have to keep going at it, you know. And as I said, it changes you and it changes your viewpoint of the world. You know, it's quite remarkable. It really is a new paradigm, I think, you know. But on Dave McWilliams there, you know, like, we don't have to convince him. But I think now we've put, you know, I've been, you know, sticking memes on him, and you know, I'm not laughing at him or anything like that, but he has to put in the work, you know. And it's not a case of he doesn't get it, so he hasn't put in the work. I genuinely don't think he has, you know. He doesn't. I've never heard him mention mining. He's never mentioned hash rate. He never mentioned the security of the network, decentralization, nothing like that. So, but in fairness to him, like, he does have guys on, you know. He bringing Saylor on, and I think the first guy was Peter McCormack, maybe.
Yeah.
With respect to Peter McCormack, like, he's probably, you know, same as us, like, you know, not one of these really top guys that understand it, you know. But he's having guys on because I guess people like me and you are, you know, antagonizing, and I'm saying, look, you need to look at this, you know. And
yeah,
I mean, there is maybe a certain responsibility for him because he is well respected and probably the most well-known economist in the country, you know. So his opinion does carry weight, you know. So that's how I look at it. Like, I call myself a Bitcoin propaganda worker, you know. I'm trying to find my space within Bitcoin, you know. Same as yourself. We're all trying to find what we can do, you know.
Yeah.
So I hope, I mean, I don't know. I know he was off in Lebanon with Taleb recently, and Taleb is, you know, another, like Rubini, these guys, just academics, this very dismissive, but they haven't looked at it. I mean, and they've been saying the same thing for 10 years. It's a fallacy, it's false, but like, yeah, on and on the train goes, on and on the Bitcoin train goes. It's just more adoption, more tech, price is going up, hash rate is going up. Even when the China ban came, the price recovered after 3 months, and we're back in the game again. You cannot kill this thing.
No.
It's like a virus. It cannot go away.
Yeah.
You have to kneel.
I've heard, I think it was Jack Mallers I've heard say about it, like, and I was only thinking about this, I don't know how, yesterday or something, but I was just thinking, like, every minute of the day, smart humans are working on Bitcoin to make it better and to make my Bitcoin be worth more, to make it do more stuff and to make it more secure. Like, you've this whole network of humans.
It's very altruistic, Dinny. You know, it's
it's mad. Like,
what you're doing,
just a new dynamic that we don't have, so we don't yet understand that. So we relate it to things that we understand, and we go, well, it must be a Ponzi scheme then. But like, that's very top level. When you go deeper, you go, no, okay, it's not that. Okay, so it's not that. What is it? And we're trying to compare it to knowns, but because it's unknown, and people could say, well, it's not new, Dinny. Like, Bitcoin's around 10 years. But I'd argue that point. Bitcoin was around 10 years, but the world wasn't pondering in 10 years. People like Max Keiser and Stacy got it 10 years ago. But most of us didn't. I don't think Bitcoin went mainstream until 2021. You know, 2020, we had money printers spin up, and smart money, who previously were ignorant to it, would have had to say, right, what's out there? Our capital's in jeopardy. So they only began their Bitcoin journey in 2021, 2020, you know, halfway through 2020. So they've only began their understanding. The world was only really beginning. It was just the very early adopters initially who have a decade's worth of experience. But the rest of the world, the majority of the world, is only really beginning. So we're just trying to, in our own head, understand that. And as you say, and I've said it, it just takes time, I think, because you're just trying to work through it in your head and understand it for yourself. And then, you know, that framework that you put together sort of possibly gets destroyed or gets layers added to it, and you're just constantly building your understanding of what it is, what it can be, and what it'll do.
Yeah, I think it's a constant process. I mean, every day I'm learning something. There's always something new, and there's someone comes in with a new perspective, and it's actually, it's kind of building human thought. And I think we're like, not only are we questioning what we've thought about and learned about for so many years, that we're questioning where we can go. Where can we go in the future? It's like anything's possible. It's so bloody exciting to be frank with you. Anything is possible when it changes. Even your human identity, you have so much hope for the future and that your life will be better. In the current system, you have to work faster now so your life can be okay in the future. I have to work to retire, whereas I'm doing artwork now that I never had a chance to do before. I feel better in myself, and I have the freedom to do, spend 6-7 hours a day banging out memes and artwork, because I know my future will be better because I have Bitcoin in reserve, So it changes it changes humanity for who we are inside, And I think that's very, very attractive and appealing. And one of the great kind of things Max taught me over the years is that, particularly when we were into gold, and silver at the time, and that was a way of getting away from the banks at the time before Bitcoin came along. That was a way of being outside the system as we saw it. And it was a way of being free, so to speak. But as the years progressed, like we figured out the banks have are complete control of gold. The naked shorts and all the funny business goes on with the paper gold contracts and all that rest. Bitcoin really came along at a unique time in human history where there was no hope. Like I sold my gold, and I think I have a little bit in the under the closet or whatever, a paperweight. But it came along with a time where there was no hope. So I ended up like, the gold price for me did nothing for years. And I was like, this is not doing anything for me. So I actually sold my gold and my silver, most of it. And I went off and I went traveling again, for about 3-4 months, whatever. But now with Bitcoin, it gives me that hope, and it gives me that strength, and it gives me this energy to communicate with other Bitcoiners. And it feels like we can take on the world. And that's really powerful, man. And yeah, and it's just every day more people are coming over to our side. And it's quite funny and amusing to see the banks flailing and running around and screaming, on Twitter, and you must ban it and you must stop this, and
Yeah, and
you cannot. It's
in some instances, I think of
too
Bitcoin.
funny.
I think of it like, in some instances, and I probably heard this somewhere, but I think Michael Saylor actually gave it, but I don't know if it was on this. But it's like having a gun and never having to use it, because before Bitcoin, all our assets were fixed. They were material things, so they were rooted in concrete to places. So you couldn't exit. You were sort of trapped within that system. If you were treated unfavorably, well, it was tough luck. You couldn't. There was capital controls. But now it's storing wealth in Bitcoin because it can be stored in your head. No one can tell if you own it or not. It gives great power. And I think the incentive structure will be in the future that, whether it plays out that we have these two types of world, a world of more control and a world of more freedom. But in Bitcoin terms, there will be an incentive for governments to treat Bitcoiners well, to not be greedy, to not overtax, because they know they have the ability to go, I'm out of here. It's like having the gun. You never have to use it, but if someone knows you have it, when your wealth is in Bitcoin and my Bitcoin in Ireland is being treated bad, well, I know I can go surfing in El Salvador and live like a king. and have
True.
the crack, and I can just leave tomorrow. I can send my Bitcoin here now while I'm chatting to you. So it gives great power to, and governments, countries, they don't want the capital to leave, they want the capital to stay. And generally, the people who have the money are the smart people. Countries like to keep them people within it to help their GDP, to help generate more tax, to help generate more jobs. So the whole incentive structure of people who own this, what the world's greatest property, the incentive structure will be, obviously it's going to be rocky for a few years. But when it washes out, I think there's going to be an incentive structure to, well, who treats the Bitcoiners the best? Because that's where we're going to attract the Bitcoiners, and we
Well,
want the Bitcoiners because they have so much monetary energy.
it was quite funny this morning reading the news about India. They want to bring in the central bank digital currency, and they want this 30% tax. I mean, if you go down to El Salvador, it'll be in Bitcoin City, it'll be 0% tax. I mean, it's quite amusing. I mean, that they're not competing. They want that monopoly. They still do not understand. I mean, if El Salvador, it's first through the door, 0% tax. How is 30% tax going to compete with that? It's insane. So people will just leave, as you said. So there's this game theory of who can, as you said, who treats the Bitcoiners the best. We have to, like, one thing I kind of learned over the years is that you have to have power to change the world, and the Bitcoiners have the power now. People are looking out for us. What do the Bitcoiners want? What do they? We control our future now. So that's encouraging again, So yeah, I don't know. Maybe some surfing down in El Salvador sounds good. But even in the region, I think there will be a domino effect down in the region because, as I said, I mean, before COVID hit, I was actually in Central America traveling with my girlfriend there. And yeah, Guatemala, I saw quite a lot of Bitcoin signs around. I mean, even
Really?
one of the
Yeah,
national
wow.
parks there, Tikal, you could pay with Bitcoin to get in, to see these Mayan temples and things. So, there's a huge history of, Simon Bolivar, the kind of united, freed a lot of the countries down there. So obviously the common language around there. So they're all kind of looking out for each other, and there's constantly going back and forth across the borders and stuff like that. So if it happens, the next one to go for me, I believe will be Guatemala, and I think it will be someone beside El Salvador, because yeah, it's just a natural thing for it to happen. Someone beside your neighbor is doing very well. All these Bitcoiners are coming in, all this
Yeah.
money's coming in, these volcano bonds. Guatemala is like right next door and said, we can do that. They have the volcanoes as well there. So yeah, it's all good, man. It's all gravy for 2022.
Yeah, it's awesome. I suppose moving on, I'll just ask you, and we'll sort of wrap it up in a couple of minutes. It's been a great conversation. Been delighted to meet you. What do you see yourself doing in the next 5 years? More in Bitcoin space or less, or or are you heading down surfing with me in El Salvador?
I tried surfing once in Ireland, and I got a wipeout. I got a smack on the nose one time, and my buddy dragged me out of the water. So maybe boogie boarding is more my style. But
Yeah.
in 5 years' time, I don't know, man. Hopefully on a beach somewhere,
Right.
and or like for us when we were in Central America, we had to come back. We had to cut our time short because of COVID, and we actually got evacuated out of Panama at the time, just 2 years ago now. And we couldn't get back to Austria, and we had to go and live with my parents in Ireland for 4 months. I mean, like for us to get there, we did a little bit of saving, and well, my girlfriend is a teacher, a school teacher, and she saved her ass off for a couple of years to get the money together. And yeah, we were really caught up about that, and it really destroyed a kind of a dream for us. So
Yeah.
as soon as COVID goes away, we're hitting the road again. But in 5 years, man, I hope I own a beach property somewhere. I'm making my little cartoons, traveling the world. Someone's paying me for my cartoons or whatever, and yeah, be financially independent. I mean, 5 years, God knows the price of Bitcoin. So I will have that, that little Easter egg, that nest egg there for myself, and make
Let's,
life a bit comfortable and just enjoy the world, man. Be
yeah.
happy. That's my goal.
Yeah. And I suppose when you're saying in 5 years, my little question at the end is, give us your price prediction for Bitcoin in 10 years for
Oh
fun.
my God. Uh,
It's like, what's the range? Where do you start? It could be
well,
there could be a
in
range
five,
of millions, and
in
you
5 years or in 2030?
2030.
2030. Oh God, Denny, who knows, man? But it would definitely be significantly higher, I imagine. I mean, I know Plan B was quite popular guy at the time with the stock to flow stuff. I mean, I guess that's been invalidated right now, but just look at the situation going forward. The money printing is clearly out of control. It'll only continue. I mean, I don't think the Fed is going to be able to raise rates. I mean, they're trapped essentially. If they raise rates, the market is tanked. Uh, I mean, no fiat currency has survived for 300 years. We've been on a fiat currency standard since 1971. We're living in one of those, times where things are going to change hugely. So if the money printing continues, like it is down in Venezuela, like it is down in Argentina, Iran, Lebanon, all the rest, man, who knows, man? But 2030, I would say $1 million euros.
Yeah.
If you put a gun to my head and you force me to make a prediction, 1 million in 8 years. I mean, it's been averaging at what, 200% per year.
Yeah, somewhere between that and 150, I think, because and that sees us getting there. I think the bond in El Salvador is really interesting. Like that could see us go beyond that. God only knows. If,
Yeah, I
if,
mean,
if actually bonds started being built around Bitcoin, who knows?
yeah, that's I mean things like over the last 12 years, things have been moving fast, but they're only accelerating now. I mean, we're bringing in the big boys are coming in now. We've got, volcano bonds. We're moving from the corporate, from the retail to the corporate to the
Yeah.
nation states. Central banks might get in. Who knows where the price is going? It's the sky's the limit, really. I mean, of course, that sounds crazy and that sounds like fantasy land, but you just have to sit back and look at the broader picture. It's we have, however many Bitcoin we have or whatever, we have a piece of digital scarcity that, every single person on the planet wants, and they want it badly because they have to have it. So make sure that Bitcoin is secured properly, Dinny. That's my advice to you.
Keep it safe. Keep dollar cost averaging. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, a little bit, man, a little bit. Keep a little bit of cash in reserve to take care of your expenses. If anything goes wrong, break your leg or whatever, you can pay for it. But yeah, I you know where my money is, man.
Awesome. Well, Geekboy, I want to thank you for coming on. I'll direct people to check you out on your Instagram or your your Twitter, sorry, for your great art. And hopefully we'll chat again soon, man. That was awesome.
All right, Dinny. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.